Okay, well, it's 12 o'clock, so I'll wish you a good afternoon and thank you for joining us today for Ask the Expert. I'm Steve Schillig, the moderator today. I'm also the director of the Small Business Development Center, headquartered at Kent State, Tuscarawas. For those that are on the call and are not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, we provide confidential, no charge consulting. We have areas of specialized advisors that can help you with marketing, food service, leadership, finance and accounting, which we're talking about today, QuickBooks and bookkeeping, computer technology, human resource, including business disaster planning, patents, copyrights, and trademarks. So if any of those subjects are of interest to you or you'd like to talk more about those particular areas, please feel free to reach out to me. You have been muted for the speaker's benefit. I would ask that if you have any questions, please use the chat room. You can find the chat room in the ribbon either below your screen or up in the upper right-hand corner. Just hover your mouse and it will read show conversation. And if you put that in, type the question in, we'll do our best to monitor that and respond to your questions. Very pleased today to have on the call Tim Reif. Tim has spent 35 years in project finance for the Lockheed Martin Corporation. In that capacity, his focus was planning and managing budgets and profitability for military projects. Within that role, Tim's focus was controlling the spend plan associated with the project while balancing customers' payment schedules. This included submitting a proposed payment plan, negotiating the plan, and then finally executing against the plan, assuring Lockheed Martin maintained a positive cash and profitable position. What an expert to have on our call today as we talk about financial analysis and budgeting and forecasting. So Tim received his Bachelor's of Science degree from Akron University and a Master's from Malone University. So with that, I would like to turn this session over to Tim. Just a quick reminder, we are recording this and it can be found on our website probably in the next week to 10 days. So if you want to go back and listen to it again or forward it to somebody else, feel free to take advantage of that. With that, Tim, go ahead and get started.
Well, thanks a lot, Steve, and everybody. Can you hear me okay? Good?
Yes. Yes.
So thanks for that intro, Steve. Sounds a lot more important than I really am, but I'd like to welcome everybody who took the time out of their day to call in and maybe learn about something they've dreaded about or thought about or wondered about. So for 35 years at Lockheed, was involved in the finance, and we always were interested in four different things. We wanted to win new orders. We wanted to make sales. We wanted to make a profit. We wanted to watch our cash flow. So cash is a very big thing, and it's a big thing for big corporations, and it's even a bigger thing for small companies because cash is really how we pay our bills, how we pay our employees, and more importantly, how we can invest in our business and grow the business. And that's what the talk is about today. So at Lockheed, we used to say cash is king. Well, hopefully after this little webinar here, well, you'll feel a little bit differently about it. So we'll go to the next slide. These are the couple things we're going to cover after that one. Got a little agenda. You can move to the next one, Steve. Yeah, so, what is cash flow? This is the part of the presentation where you can roll your eyes and kind of get bored, but I'm a really sort of a pragmatic kind of person. I like to try to make it meaningful for us. We're going to talk about a couple definitions, but more importantly, we're going to talk about why it's important to a small business, either a new one or an existing one. So if you're thinking about starting a new business and you've got all these ideas in your head, and you have really nowhere to start, and you don't know if you're going to make a dollar, this little analysis is going to help you a lot. You got an existing business, and sometimes you'll wonder, where does all the money go, and why don't I have enough money to pay that bill coming up? This little analysis can help you in that area too. So we're going to go through the Small Business Development Center cash flow model, and it's going to lend itself to helping both new businesses and existing. I'm going to go through the sections. We're going to talk about how it works. We're going to talk about how it comes up with some yearly projections. And it comes up with this all important thing we call cash flow ratio, which is a lot of mumbo jumbo for, am I going to make enough money to pay that loan back if I have to get one? And it was a bank's going to accept my analysis. And it's pretty important if you're thinking about starting a new business and getting a loan. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about why, once we have the model, how we can use it to track ourselves against the model and see where we're going off our plan. And then the final takeaways at the end, I'm going to say a few things to hopefully after you go back to your day at work, you'll have a few takeaways and maybe get more interested in pursuing a cash flow model yourself. So with that, we'll go to the next page. And if you looked up in the dictionary, you basically say that, hey, that's the money that's coming in and out of a business, especially the money that helps you pay your bills. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but that doesn't really help me a whole lot. So if you go to the next slide, the real meaning of cash flow for small businesses, and really what it comes down to is, if I'm bringing in my money and I'm paying my bills on a monthly basis, that's the key, on a monthly basis, what's my ability to pay my employees, my insurance, my costs, and anything that comes up, and pay those on a monthly basis without being late. Plus, what's more important is, am I going to have money left over for growth and internal investment? Because really everybody wants to start a business, but everybody wants to grow it too. So that's really what it comes down to as far as brass tacks. How am I doing? Where's the money going? And am I going to have enough left over to do more things that I plan on doing? Now, there's a lot of different ways to compute it. My little disclaimer there at the bottom. At Lockheed, we had a model just like this, a bit more complicated. Everybody calculates cash a little different, but for small businesses, we're going to use the model that we have here at the Development Center. So why is it important for small businesses, right? You're a new entrepreneur, you got all these ideas, you really don't know where they start. Am I going to have to borrow money? Do I have enough money to get started? How am I going to pay my bills? So with our model, which I'm going to go through here with a little example, it's going to help you identify and solidify all those thoughts in your minds. It's going to help you take all those things you have going around, and we're going to put them onto paper. We're going to find your revenue. Where's your money coming from? When are you going to receive your money? Is there any discount in the money you receive because it's on a credit card? The little model we have, it provides a little checklist. It's kind of like a little tickler file to say, what costs haven't I yet identified? Oh, I forgot about insurance, ability. Oh, I forgot about CPA costs and my QuickBooks cost and all those other things we might lose track of. And also, it also identifies the ability to pay our bills. We all going to have bills. We all have certain float in our bills, but we could be making a profit. But if we don't have the money ready and available to pay those bills, we're going to have issues. Also, when we're starting out a brand new business, we're not really sure how much money we're going to need to get started. We're going to have some upfront costs. We're going to have some non-recurring investment. We might have to take a loan. If so, is the bank going to allow me to borrow that money? Am I going to make enough money to pay that loan back? And is that payback substantial enough that the bank will say that I'm a sufficient risk to borrow that money? So our little model answers that question. You know, it's a little daunting when you go and start a new business and you want to borrow some money from the bank, but this little analysis will help not only yourself, but the banker feel assured that you went through the right thought process. Also, most importantly, what you think about is when you start a new business, how much money can I draw? How much money can I take out of the business without hurting myself? And then finally, when a new business comes and we put it all together, once we have it built, we can do what we call what if. Well, what if my revenue goes up? What if my revenue goes down? What if I cut these costs? Maybe I shouldn't open a building. Maybe I should do it all online. So once we have the model built and you're happy with it, we can do a lot of scenarios to on paper, draw some conclusions about what you can and cannot do. So for a small business startup, the little model helps a lot with answering a lot of those questions. Next slide, please. So ongoing business, all you folks out there who have a small business and you look around and going, where the heavens is the money going? You know, you may have it in QuickBooks, you may have a CPA, but sometimes you're just not sure where all the ins and outs are going. The model helps provide insight to monthly activities. What am I paying for? What maybe I've overlooked? What costs can I possibly cut? It also shows to light that if you have an upcoming bill or other cash constraint, it'll highlight that in the model. You can also do the what if like we did in the startup mode. In other words, if you have issues with profitability or payments, we can decide which variable we can change and alter to possibly, remedy that situation. But a real key for the ongoing business is once you lay out the model and have all your costs, we can look and track your real cost against those and do what I call a little variance analysis. You thought your insurance payment was a certain value, but lo and behold, you find out it's something greater or less. So it gives light to issues where you may be above and beyond what you originally thought your business costs were. Okay, next slide. So the Small Business Development Center has a small Excel file that I've used with different clients before. And we're going to go through that here in just a minute to try to solidify all these things I just said. I'm going to go over some of the highlights here, and then we're going to go over a little working model that I came up with. And try to tie all those loose ends together. So the model does is it's sort of a 3 or 4 Excel tab model, but what's nice is at first page, it shows you all your upfront capital. So if you're starting out a new business and you have to buy some supplies and do some capital investments, it's a little checklist of all those different things you need. So you lay out all those different costs. And in my example, I'm going to show you in just a minute, I'm going to start my own lawn care service. And I'm going to show you what I think it would take for me to do that. So it helps me determine my capital investment. And then from that, it determines maybe how much money I may need to go to borrow if I don't have enough money or cash to start the business myself. So the next part of the model is a 12-month working model where it shows all the revenues that you have, all the payment timing that might go with it. It also has a portion that determines how much is it going to cost for me to provide that service or that particular item. So we have a cost of goods sold that says, okay, I can sell something for a certain amount of money. What's it going to cost me to do that? Then all the expenses, everybody on the call knows, we've all got those expenses we love to cut and reduce. We're going to detail all those. And then finally, we're going to figure out, boy, do I have if I take a loan, how much is that loan going to be? And after it's all said and done, how much money can I draw from that company to make it all worth my while? And a little offspring from that is it not only provides a 12-month working model, but we have another tab that shows 3 years of projections, which helps us decide how we're going to look not only in year 1, but in year 2 and year 3 and out. And then after we're all done, once we have the model, like I said before, we can do a lot of different adjustments and clean it up. And then we can also prove to the banker that, hey, we have a good cash flow ratio. We have a ratio that I believe will give you significant security in that I can pay your loan back based on my revenue stream and my costs. So I'm going to try to tie it all together. So if we could go to the Excel file. So the Excel file that Steve's bringing up is going to be what the Small Business Association uses. And what I would use if you came to me and asked me to do a little analysis, either a startup or whatever you might have. So we're going to go just over it quickly. We're not going to go through all the details. But as I said, in this particular scenario, since I'm recently retired, I thought I'd start a lawn care company. And with that, I put together all the different things that I thought I needed to do that. So I'm a one-man show. And as you can see on line 10, I'm going to go buy my lawnmowers. I've got a John Deere rider and I got a Honda. I'm going to buy a spreader and an aerator. You can see I'm going to buy some edgers and stuff. Oh, I got to buy line 21. I got to buy a trailer and a pickup. So up front, I've got about $40,000, but I've also got other things that I've got to go with it. Some other expenses that are going to go for the startup. And as you go down through the file and you roll down to line 42 and 43, you can see that my total investment in this company is $48,000. And now I don't have $48,000 laying around, but I do have close to 10,000. So I'm going to put 10,000 or 9,600 in the business, and I'm going to go ahead and borrow about 39. At least that's what I think I need. And I'm going to go off and see if I can't go to a bank and see if I can't borrow that amount of money. So if you're a first-time entrepreneur, this is a great place to start to solidify your ideas about, hey, what do I need to do to start this business? I know what I got. I know the different things I have around. This is a nice way to itemize all the things you need up front and to put a price on it. Does it have to be exact? No. Should it be close? Of course it does. You should maybe get an estimate or have some sort of backup. And that's what column C is. I've gone out and I've talked to people and I've got estimates and I've decided to talk to folks that know. And I've got quotes from Hartville and the Majestic Trailer and all the different places. So I have a pretty good idea that my number is pretty good. Not only important to me, but it's important to the bank or anyone else who's going to invest in my company, that I've done the due diligence to make sure that I'm doing my homework, thought of everything, and I've got all my upfront costs covered. So the first tab is really for the startup, a little list of what to do. Now, if you have an existing company and you maybe want to make an expansion and you want to build a new building, you might have a new building and incorporate a new revenue stream, then this would be the part where you would fill that out too. So it both satisfies the both new business and the existing. So once we're good with that, and we know where we've got to start up, what we do is we go to the next tab. And if we click on that, this is a 12-month look at what my company is going to look like for the next 12 months. So this is where you would detail how I think I'm going to receive my revenue and pay my expenses. So with not too much detail, if you look at line number 7, I'm going to receive some monies from snow removal and my lawn care, and I'm going to do some other miscellaneous landscaping work. And I've estimated how many hours I'm going to spend, and I've decided how much it's going to cost me to use all that equipment that I've bought. Now, remember, I can change these all I want. I can make my assumptions different, how much I think I'm going to charge or make. But what it does, in my mind, it kind of gives me an idea how many hours I have to work, how much revenue stream I'll have. And down there on line 22 is the money that I'm going to have available to pay all my costs. So automatically, I know if Tim's Lawn Care gets into business, I'm going to make about $67,000. It's a good estimate. I'm not really sure. But the next piece is, starting on line 24, is all the bills I have to pay. And the reason the model is so handy is it actually gives you like a little tickler file, like I said, to tell you, well, what do I have to do to pay the cost? So I'm going to have to base it on gasoline because my time is kind of free. And the time I spend mowing the lawn, I'm going to have to do line 28. I got to do repairs. I got to pay for licenses. I got to pay for legal fees. So there's a lot of different things. And the model comes with a lot of these preloaded. So it's almost as a reminder to a new business about what I need to do to get started so I don't forget anything. Now, here comes the real powerful part of the model. If we roll down a little bit and we go down farther, and you can see line 49, line 50, and 51. This is what's really important. From the first tab, I knew I had to borrow about $39,000. I'm putting in the $9,600 for my total cash of almost $50,000. So that's critical because now I have the money I'm working with. This is the cash money in my hand to pay for all those different things. So I'm going to take a loan to buy all those. So you can see on line 55 is my loan based on a certain payback period that I'm going to go ahead and pay back the bank. So that's roughly about $605. So this is what's so nice about it is I've done my work. I've got all my costs set up. So let's do a quick review. I've identified all my upfront costs. It's about $50,000. I know I have $10,000 to put in. I'm borrowing about $39,000. I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to get a loan. And line 56 means I'm going to take $2,000 out of the business. So I'm going to pay myself for all that on the lawn work and all the aeration. So as we go down a little bit farther, we're saying, well, can this business really work? Well, my cash balance is actually positive, except for the last month, which I'm off a little bit, but I'm doing okay. I'm going to borrow the money. I'm going to use my time. I can pay off the loan. I can draw $2,000 a year, and I'm not going to have much trouble until maybe the end of the year. But it's a great start to know, is this business even something I can produce or do? I would have never known had I not gone through these steps. So it's a little bit of discipline. It takes a little bit of time, but the outcome is very, very helpful in that I have a model that works. I have a model that details everything. I can decide to forget anything. And really what the most powerful thing is as a new business person, how am I going to get that loan from the bank? I don't know how to approach a bank. I don't know what they want. Well, believe it or not, if you've detailed things to this level and have backup, if we go to the third tab here where it talks about the annual forecast, it rolls up all the data for me. And it says for year one, here's all my different expenses. Here's my revenue. Here's all my expenses. And here's what's really, really important is that it tells the bank, hey, I've done my work. I've done my homework. And look down here below. It says that based on my income that I'm going to make and the interest I got to pay, I have a cash flow coverage number of 1.4. Well, what does that mean? All that means to the bank is that, you know what, Mr. Rife, you're going to generate enough revenue and you have a loan that's the right length and your expenses are okay, that your ratio for the amount of money you come in to repay that loan is you have coverage of not only 100%, but a little bit more, like 1.4 coverage to pay back that loan. So to a bank, and their magic number could be different, but it's usually about 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, somewhere in that range. So I'm getting pretty close to satisfying the bank's requirement of showing them the detail and the cash flow coverage I need to execute this new business. So I know that was a lot of information. I know it was rather quick, but just to give you an insight, so that's good for a new business, but what about an existing business? Well, you can take all your data and you can go to the monthly tab, which is the middle tab. We can put all your monthly data in, and we can see at the bottom line there where right on line 53, let's see, yeah, the ending cash balance, we could see where you're going to have trouble paying for or making payments. And we can use that model to manipulate your data to make sure you're going to be cash liquid to pay. But more importantly, you can track against your expenses and revenue to see if you're doing what you thought you were doing. So it helps not only the new business, but it helps the existing business at the same time to do what I call variance analysis. Put in the real numbers and let's track against them and see if my expectations are right considering the numbers I've been seeing. So the quick summary is it's a handy little file we use here at the SBDC that does a great job in quantifying and laying out your revenues, your expenses, and most importantly, your ability to pay back a loan if you wanted to. And all these things can change. Like in the snow removal, I could assume that I'm going to charge $45 an hour or $28 an hour or $65. It's all variable, but once you have it, you can manipulate the data to get the answer that most realistic and is going to be okay for executing the business. So that's the quick overview of that. So we can probably go back to the presentation. And that was Tim's precision lawn care, which I'm not sure I'm ever going to start.
Tim,
yeah, this
is Steve. I was just going to say, since you're on this example, if let's assume that we have another mild year from last year, and that we're only going to get 50% of the revenue that we planned for snow recovery. So if we make this, half the time, you can see that with just three inputs, you can determine very quickly the change in your cash flow by having no snowfall. And then by following this to the next year, when we were at 1.4 before, we've dropped our cash flow coverage to 1.3, which is getting into that area where the bank may be a little more concerned than if they were higher. So just wanted to give a real quick example. I appreciated the walking through that, how much time and effort you put into this to show that it is a working model. So
thank you so much, Steve. That's true, and I guess that point can't be overlooked, because we try to develop it to your situation, to your scenario. And just like Steve said, now I'm praying for snow if I'm going to open this business, and a wet spring to make some money. But you never know what could happen. And a bank may say, well, your expectations are too high. So you have to be ready to make those adjustments. So those are the kind of things the model kind of helps you out with. So don't want to take too much of your time. The next slide kind of documents a takeaway. So if there's anything I want you to remember about the model, besides all the little Excel things, is, hey, we're going to document your revenue expenses. Important for a startup, important for a business you're just going to buy, or possibly a business you're running and you're not quite sure if you got your handle on everything. And I want to track those revenues and expenses, and I want to see what the variance is. I want to be able to track those against a plan to make sure I'm on track. And because I quite think I should be making more money than I am, but I haven't quite got there yet. So also it quantifies your ability to pay that loan. That's a big, big thing to remember. If you're thinking about a new business, I know I need some upfront money. What exactly do I have to do to get the bank to allow me to be a good risk so they'll lend me the money? Big deal right there. It serves as a what if model, like Steve did. He changed those numbers. You can change them all you like until you're comfortable with them, until it's more represents reality rather than just some sort of dream. You can kind of refine it and get it close. Once you get more and more estimates, you can refine the model, and there won't be any surprises when you finally pull the trigger. And for those existing businesses, hey, you're going to have insight, and you can do yourself a little variance analysis. You can see how you're tracking. How's my revenue? How's my expenses? Am I going to have that cash ready in December when I got to pay that tax bill? And how does next year look? After COVID-19 and things pick up, am I going to be able to make good on some of those loans I had to make? And is the revenue going to bounce back, and is the cash going to be there? So that's the takeaway. Don't worry about the model. Worry about what the model gives you, and that's the main thing. It answers key questions for revenues, expenses, and for ability to get a loan. And then once you're done tracking those. So those are sort of the takeaways from the model itself. And I hope that gives you an idea that you hear the word cash flow and your eyes roll and your mouth gets dry and you lose your appetite. But really, we're here to help. Models like these really solidify ideas for new startups, and they also help existing companies manage their cost and revenue. So I hope you gained something from this little talk. Can entertain any questions, and you're always willing to reach out to us and ask for help. Thank you.
Tim, thank you very much. If you can stay on maybe a minute just to see if there are any questions. I appreciated the time you put into that model, and I would remind those on the call today that is available, whether you're an existing business or a startup, and we're happy to help you through that. Tim's been with the SBDC for several months now, and I've appreciated all his effort with several clients that he's worked with, and he can meticulously walk you through this process so that it becomes a part of your business as opposed to just something you do randomly. So yeah, we'll give it a minute for questions. And again, if you want to follow back up on our website, the recording will probably be available next week or. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so I will tell everybody on the phone that, again, thank you for joining us today. This was Ask the Expert. We offer this Ask the Expert session every other Thursday, and I look forward to you joining us again. And if we can be of any assistance, please feel free to reach out to me, and have a good rest of the day. We do have a question coming in.